Hi, I'm Laura Laddick Hoffman, founder and director of the New Jersey Ghost Hunter Society, and I'm bringing you a New Jersey Ghost Hunter Society Deadline Vidcast. Remember way back when we had the podcast called The Deadline, and over time that kind of fell by the wayside, and now, given the fact that we can't have our monthly meetings, we were scheduled to have a para-share next month that we can, I'm not a para-share, para-intensive that we were going to have next month, so all our newbie members could get their base training and be ready to be on teams to go out and do investigations, which we still do free of charge. All that fell by the wayside because of the COVID-19. So I'm going to try to stick with getting you some type of a vidcast weekly in lieu of our monthly meetings. So all the New Jersey Ghost Hunter Society members, you'll have a chance to watch this via the YouTube channel, and it'll kind of be like we're still getting together without really getting together. And so I'm not going to waste a lot of time. It's just going to be short and sweet. I'm just doing this completely on the fly here, so bear with me. So first up, what I wanted to share with you, this book. Now this is Ouija Gone Wild, okay? And Rosemary Ellen Guiley wrote this along with Rick Fisher. And one of my stories actually appears in this. Now I know a lot of you think, the Ouija board, no big deal. Well, it is. And here's why. I know a lot of the game companies, I'm not sure whether it's Parker Brothers or Milton Bradley that holds the rights to it right now, but they market it as a game, a toy for children ages 8 and up. And I can tell you from personal experience, not so much, okay? It really does open up a portal, and like attracts like. Sorry, still have allergies. It is not that virus. I have allergies, serious allergies. And, but it does open a portal, and like attracts like. So if you're not in a really good space, guess what? That's what you pull through from the other side. The things that are on the other side tend to be more of a low, what we call low vibratory frequency. They're whatever your murderers and child molesters and thieves on this side, that's what they are on that side. And the Ouija board being a low vibratory frequency tool, that's pretty much the portal it opens up into. So yeah, I'm going to read you the story that I submitted. And Rosemary Ellen Guiley was so impressed with it, she actually put a blurb from it on the back cover, as a teaser for the book when it went out to market. So, and this is a true story. True story. I lived through this. My then husband Jeff lived through it. And my son Brian, because I didn't have Trent at the time, it was just Brian. And he was the one that was suffering the most at the hands of this, of what we thought we were just doing as fun to get like lottery numbers. But here, let me read this to you. Laura Laddick, because it's still in my maiden name, as I was still not married when I wrote this, is a prominent paranormal investigator in northern New Jersey. Her harrowing experiences with the Ouija board started with entertainment and ended in near possession and nocturnal attacks by a hideous vampire-like entity. One night, Laura and her then husband Jeff hosted a group of friends at their home. Laura's best friend, Tree, now that's short for Teresa, but we always call her Tree, brought over a Ouija board. The board was active and exciting at first. It seemed harmless enough. Here is Laura's story, starting with that first night. My friend Elle, which is really Larry, refused to play it and stood on the opposite side of the kitchen while the rest of us attempted to get it to work. It took 55 minutes, and finally the planchette began to move and spell things out. We figured out it was the spirit of a little boy. But then the planchette began to move wildly about the board and started to spell out a name that my best friend, Tree, recognized. Sorry, allergies. She commanded it to go to goodbye before it finished spelling that name. She told us the name and said that was the same one that came through at her apartment when she and her boyfriend played the board. Now, a little background on that. When Teresa elaborated to me about playing it with her boyfriend at her apartment and this entity came through, she was to the point where she was even scared to stay in her apartment for a little bit after that because weird things were happening. Of course, I didn't connect the two. And anyway, Tree, Jeff, and I met every weekend and played the board at our house. Now, here's another background that's not in the story. That night, I figured afterwards, when I saw how frightened my friend was, and he said how a priest told him, don't ever mess with that, and he stood across the room, wouldn't come near it, and we got it to move, and then Teresa had this thing where she said, go to goodbye, because she recognized this name coming through. Well, after that night, I went to the local bookstore in Cranford, and I said, do you have any books? Because it was like a New Age metaphysical little bookstore. No, actually, no, it was just a regular bookstore. But it had a New Age metaphysical section, that's where I went. And I didn't see anything on the Ouija board, talking boards, nothing. So I asked the bookstore owner, and she said, well, let me look it up. She said, well, there is this book called Ouija, the Most Dangerous Game, but she goes, it's not even under metaphysical, it's under games. I'm like, okay, well, can you order it for me? And she did. 2 weeks later, she calls me up. She said, your book is in. I'm like, okay, I'll come by tonight and pick it up. I go to the bookstore. Now, get this. She tells me as she's handing me the book, she goes, I don't know if it's coincidence or what, but she said, the minute I entered the ISBN number for this book into my inventory, after 15 years of being in business with no problems, my entire computer system crashed. And I'm like, oh boy. So needless to say, I go home and I start reading this book. And if you want to check it out yourselves, it's called Ouija, the Most Dangerous Game by Stoker Hunt. Anyway, let's continue. So we would meet every weekend and we played the board at our house. We bought our own wooden board at a magical shop in New York City. Now that was known as, I think it was Herman Wouk's Magical Child, if I'm not mistaken. We were having fun talking with this one particular spirit named Quentin. It progressed to where I could do automatic writing with this spirit, which saved a tremendous amount of time. You know me, I'm all about expediency and efficiency. Meanwhile, Jeff and I began having one miserable experience after another. Our health was going downhill. Our son was having problems, and this is Brian. Now, at this time, he's maybe about 3 years old, I think. He was diagnosed with ADHD, which is Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. And there was more to it on a metaphysical I'm sorry. I'm so dying with these allergies. On a metaphysical level, as we later discovered. Our finances were shot to you-know-what. We kept playing the board simply to get the Pick 6 lotto numbers. The wooden board that we bought in New York City did yield 4 of the 6 numbers, in essence paying it for itself. We won $60. But we didn't yet associate our increasing problems with our use of the board. Most worrisome of all were entity attacks on our son, Brian, at night. He described the evil man who wielded long fingernails to scratch him. Now, this would be weird. Brian would come in to our room in the middle of the night, screaming and crying. He'd turn his back to me, and he'd lift up his shirt. He goes, the man scratched me, the man scratched me. And I'd be trying to look. I couldn't really see anything, but he kept telling me, the man scratched me. The one night, while playing the board, I was possessed by a spirit who pretended to be Quentin. Now, there was a lot more that happened with all this going on, but this is the nuts and bolts of it. The planchette came to a stop in the center of the board. And it did. It just stopped moving. Jeff asked, why aren't you talking? Where did you go? Suddenly, I was sucker punched in my stomach. The force of the blow made me slam face forward onto the table. Clutching my stomach, I took my hand off the planchette. This frightened Jeff, and he jumped back and removed his hand from the planchette. I felt a chokehold on my throat that was unbearably painful. When I tell you, it was like I got slammed in the gut, and I went face forward, and I clutched my stomach. And then as I started to raise up, I felt this surge, and it went from my gut, and it was just traveled up, and then it went like that on my throat. No lie. And I had all I could do. With that, I could feel the release. All right, I'm sorry. I lost my spot. Anyway, I gained enough strength to raise my head and squeak out, he's in me. Thankfully, Tree still had her hand on the planchette, because here's word to the wise. Had she taken her hand off as well, I'd have been left possessed. But luckily, she was the only one of us who maintained contact with it. So anyway, she commanded it to go to goodbye. And I felt like, yeah, she said it twice. She said, go to goodbye. She said, goodbye. I command you, go to goodbye. She yelled at it. And I gained enough strength. All right, blah, blah, blah. He's in me. Thankfully, Tree still had her hand on the planchette and said with a commanding voice, goodbye, go to goodbye. The planchette moved violently about the board, but Tree maintained her grip on it, thank God, and it went to goodbye. With that, I could feel the release of the pressure on my throat, but I was so sick to my stomach that I barely had enough time to run upstairs to the bathroom and throw up twice. And literally, it was awful. It was the last time I used the board. We had a psychic medium, Jane Doherty, hi Jane, come to our house. She said she could feel a column of negative energy running from where we had played the board in our basement straight up through our son's room above. We were horrified to think that our activity with the board had opened up a conduit for something horrible to attack our son. Another psychic, Neville, now that's R. Neville Johnston, he was from Washington, D.C., who spent the night in our son's room, was visited by the evil entity that terrorized our son at night. Neville said it took him 2 tries to get the evil one to leave. He cautioned both Jeff and me to never utter the spirit's name, as that would bring it right back. I can tell you only that the name begins with the letter V. We never uttered it again, and I never will. Neville described this entity as looking like the vampire Nosferatu. He kept clacking his long fingernails against themselves, and he had a wolf with him that had red glowing eyes. Our son Brian had never mentioned the wolf, just the man with the long fingernails who would scratch him. One night, after Neville's visit, I put on a meditation CD while Brian was in the bathtub. The first track opened with wolves howling. Next thing I knew, Brian came running out of the bathroom, soaking wet from the bath, screaming and crying that a wolf with the red eyes was going to get him. I stopped the music and took care of him to calm him down. It was very frightening. And that was the first time. Like, Brian never mentioned this wolf before, and Neville had told us about this wolf with these glowing red eyes. And that was what freaked me out, was that as soon as Brian heard wolves howling, and the kid had never, come on, it was the suburbs of Westfield. It's not like he knew what a wolf sounded like, but he made the connection of that sound and what had been appearing in his bedroom. So it was really scary. It took us a good 6 months of daily smudging and white candle burning throughout the night to rid the negative energy field from the house. One other thing the board did predict correctly, in addition to 4 of the 6 lotto numbers, was its message, Bomb Kensington. Sure enough, when we were in London later, we were evacuated from our hotel, the Kensington Hotel, because a bomb was discovered around the corner from our hotel in a trash can. And Rosemary goes on to note, other board users have encountered hostile red-eyed entities, such as in the next account. So then there's another story about the red-eyed entities. But anyway, if you check out this book, Ouija Gone Wild, you'll get to see my stories in there, and plus a bunch of other experiences. So pretty much it doesn't end well to mess with the Ouija board. In all the years I've done cases, paranormal investigating, I can tell you, every time something is going beyond paranormal and getting really wacky, I can line up all the family members and say, okay, who played the Ouija board? And eventually one of them sheepishly will say, I did. And I'm like, thank you, because you just opened a portal. In fact, that was that really bad case we had in Metuchen. And that's where an elemental gained access to, because normally elementals, they stay out in the wild. But the young girl was playing a Ouija board with her friends. It was for her birthday party. Her mother gave her the board thinking, I'll have a sleepover and play the Ouija board. Brilliant. But it did open a portal, and this thing was gaining strength and coming in and attacking the sons and so on. It was bad. But that's a story for another day. In any event, I guess stay tuned to the NJGHS fan page on Facebook. And you can always see what's going on with if we're going to have any meetings. It'll definitely be on the homepage of njghs.net. And if you have any questions or comments about the story or experiences that you would like to share, anything that you've had recently, if you've been out on your own little investigation, if you have a Ouija board story to tell, let's face it, we got to keep each other entertained at this point. So please, if you want, I'll bring back Parashare. And that way, send in your stories, and then on the next vidcast via Parashare, I will be glad to read your story. So that way we can all kind of stay in touch on the paranormal level and keep things moving along. And if I can pull it off, I'll try to figure out a way to maybe get the PowerPoint presentation into some type of format that maybe all the new members of NJGHS can have a date and time and do like a webinar possibly, so you can see the presentation. I can go over everything with you, and at least that way you will get your base training in lieu of having the actual para intensive. So I hope that helps. And I can't think of anything else besides that. So stay tuned to njghs.net, and definitely like us on Facebook. We do have a fan page there. And I want to just acknowledge our team leaders, Dina Shiriko. She has been keeping the meetings alive month to month, coming up with great topics and guest speakers. And the monthly meetings for the North Jersey division that she runs is based in Hackettstown. And they have their meetings third Tuesday of every month from 7 to 8:30 when we can actually have meetings. And so thank you, Dina. And thank you to my son, Brian, who is actually really being the producer of this right now, because I had no idea how to set any of this up, but he does, so that's great. And like I said, stay tuned to the website and to our fan page, and I will be talking to you soon. So happy haunting. Hey, one little PS. I don't know if you noticed, because it's rare that I wear jewelry, but look at that. Aren't they pretty? See? Sparkly. Anyway, my friend Sharon, she has her own jewelry business, and I picked these up. I actually watch. She goes live on Facebook, so if you ever see me sharing her live show on my Facebook page, clue into it, because you get some really cute bling, and all the bling is only $5 a piece. So shout out to Sharon. And so if you like some neat jewelry, give it a go. Either private message me and I will send you the link to her page, or next time she's on live, I will share it and you can catch it that way. Okay, so there they are. They're cute. They're hoops. They got little pink crystals. I know it's kind of hard to see, but anyway, there they are. So see you later.